So we're recording now. So we live.
What's going on, baby? Yo, culture content, y'all. It's getting right. We doing a Zoom today. You know what I'm saying? Got a special guest with us, so bear with us. You know, we getting used to this, but we trying to bring y'all something different. Trying to bring y'all the most current information and knowledge out there. Special guest today is my guy, HERVANS. Yo, bro, bear with us. HERVANS. We're gonna call him Dr. J, but he's gonna give you the correct pronunciation for his name. But yeah, Dr. J in the building, bro. Dr. J, please give us the full pronunciation of your name. Tell us what you do. And let's go. Wait,
hold on, real quick. We got Dr. J in the building, so.
You know what I mean? Let's run it up, man. Let's run it up, yo.
Thank you, everybody. So thank you, Des. Thank you, Kay, for having me on here on the air today, joining you guys live in this recording. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I appreciate for all the audiation, all the listeners out there. Hope you received the message today very well. So my name is HERVANS JEANISS, or Dr. J for short. It's easier that way.
I have to hear it first again, bro. I know you just said it, bro. HERVANS JEANISS, y'all. Welcome, HERVANS JEANISS. All right, welcome, Dr. J. So just know what we running with for today.
No problem. No problem,
my brother.
Good. So definitely, I grew up in Connecticut. So born and raised in Connecticut, Haitian family, so Caribbean, all the Caribbean peoples out there. Big ups to all the Caribbean folks out there.
Tri-state area too. We're gonna shout out the tri-state area. You know what I
mean? Tri-state, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's get it, man.
Definitely. So born and raised in CT, left to go to school at Syracuse, so upstate New York, went to Syracuse University, did my computer engineering bachelor's there, went to University of Maryland, Baltimore County. So I was living in Baltimore for a few years, doing my master's in systems engineering. And after that, I went on to University of Pittsburgh to complete my doctorate in rehabilitation engineering, and also studied abroad in London for a year. So.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yo, shout out to Big Ben and all of them. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was dope. Beautiful place, man. Beautiful country. Yo, I loved it out there too. So how long were you out there in London?
In London, a year.
Yeah,
nice.
About a year. Okay. 9
Speak
months.
French?
Was that?
Speak French?
Do they speak French? Is that what you said?
I said, I know they speak French.
Said, do
you speak French?
Of course.
Okay,
most of my training in school, but I speak Haitian Creole, French, a little bit of other languages here and there. To
three languages?
What was that?
My man, well versed out here. You speak languages?
So yeah, got some French I could handle. Haitian Creole, English definitely, and some other languages. Probably hear a little bit of Spanish here and there.
Un poquito español, papo. Un poquito. I know just enough to get me by, bro.
It's all good. It's all good.
So go ahead, bro. You can open.
So basically, we're gonna be talking about artificial intelligence in this episode, and I know the world is changing on a day-to-day basis, and we just want to pick your brain on your expertise in that field. So how is artificial intelligence used in business? Can you talk to us a little bit about that today?
Okay. Artificial intelligence. So that's pretty big. So I'm coming from the area during my doctoral studies. I spent some time in robotics. And I guess that's where the connection lies with here, and that interest and that arena. It was something to know about artificial intelligence, and you would hear this other term called automation. So artificial intelligence and automation. Automation is when you can do something, a repeated task. So just something automatically, just thinking of it that way, a repeated task. AI, on the other hand, it is when it's not repeated. So it's a learned. So it's a learned trait that continues learning and continues to adapt. So think of that as AI, and then you would hear automation, that's a distinction between both. Uh, sorry, and your question was 10 years?
How is it used in business?
In business. So in business, you can definitely see AI in everyday home ideas, home products. You have your Siri that is continuously learning
Right.
what you're saying and doing, and attributing to that. A lot for consumers, a lot for businesses, those big conglomerates like your Amazons and other other corporations. They'll be using data, right? They'll be tracking data, so listening data, to figure out what to best do their sales. And they use artificial intelligence. So big companies like that would use artificial intelligence to boost their sales and to increase their sales. If they can do recommendations based on stuff that you're starting to do searches on, and they'll do recommendations. I remember a story about how this girl, she was a young girl, right? She was on the internet, searching stuff for, I guess, related to pregnancy, at a very young age. And sometime later, with the AI technology, sometime later, they started to send her stuff in the mail. So basically, if she's looking for baby information now, they're like, okay, they calculate how much time, and then she'll be at this stage, this current stage, and they start sending stuff in the mail. And then the father got so furious. He would see stuff with about babies coming in the mail. He's like, my daughter's not pregnant. What is this? And he was just get mad and all. Come to find out that he didn't
was just
know.
searching something on the
Wow,
web. Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yo, so that's basically when we talk about all those algorithms online, and when you, let's say you look up a camera or something like that, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it pops up on your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed.
Yeah, you
know
start
what
to
I
see a lot of
mean?
ads about
And
it.
then all of a sudden you like, yo, I looked on the website for this, but somehow they caught me, you know what I mean? Like it connected the dots so that it knew to advertise cameras work or whatever the case is. Like, so that's basically those algorithms, that's artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Like,
It could be scary too. Sometimes I start to think about how, I could just be talking about something and I just start to see advertisements in my Gmail and other places, and like, wait a minute, what's going on? I never wrote down a search.
hey, that's a
Right.
fact.
What's going on? What's happening here? So we see this
Siri's always listening, man.
Yeah.
very the other one,
Alexa and all
Echo.
that is
Yeah.
real, yo.
So
That's crazy.
they are
But that's
definitely.
crazy. They can kind of like, create an online version of you and then sell it to other people. You know what I mean? Sell your information to other competitors or whatever, so they can start sending you stuff. And it can be very helpful, but very scary as well, as you can see. As a, the father is mad about, his young daughter probably could have been pregnant, but she was just, doing a quick Google search on something. So,
And it could have been for her friend, you know what I mean? It didn't even have to be for her, but it just looked that way. Like, which is wicked, man. Super wicked. So I got a question. Why do you think there are not as many African Americans working in the artificial intelligence field? I feel like it's predominantly Caucasian, and I don't think that it's promoted, in our neighborhoods as much. So to hear a Black man talking about, artificial intelligence and be well versed and,
right,
a
it's kind of
doctor,
refreshing.
yeah, it's super refreshing to know, like, look, whatever the stereotype is, you know what I mean? We still out here in every field dominating. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So when it comes to African Americans, when it comes to Blacks, when it comes to other minorities, Latinos as well, where you don't see a strong there's a strong prevalence in the field, and whether it's robotics, whether it's related to artificial intelligence stuff. It really stems down to what we grew up with, and what we know, right? What's around the block, right?
What's cool? What's the cool thing?
Yeah, what's socially acceptable?
What's socially acceptable, and it's just being unaware. I think really, right, with parents, right? If you got young mothers, younger mothers, and they might not have gone through school or got exposed to certain things, so they're just doing what what they think is best for their child, and engaging with the community, and it's just this rapid cycle where there's less exposure to branching out to figure out, okay, what's out there, what's going on. It's so hard to see Blacks and Latinos and African Americans to really have a strong presence in anywhere right now. I mean, right now I'm in aviation, right? That's the industry that I'm in right now. And even such, right? You look you look down left and right. I mean, you just, it's just similar things. And I think it's in the STEM, right? The science, the technology, all the STEM arena, where there's more push for it now. There's more people actually, people of color in those arenas from than before. Now it's still small. We just hit in a inch, a fraction of an inch. I feel as such. So it's really exposure. And one of the things for me is I didn't have that. I wouldn't have had that exposure if I would have just been around the block. If I would have just been around the neighborhood and community. I mean, around me when I was growing up, right? I definitely see, okay, I know what the spot where the drug dealers are. I know the spot where, this is happening, where this is going on, and this is around me. And you think at a young age, like you're not going to live past a certain age. There's that other stereotype and mindset of a lot of adolescents in the Black and Latino communities that I've learned is you're not going to excel or get to a you won't live past this certain age, so you just do what you can, run the streets, etc. So it's a stigma. There's stigmas out there, and there's people that there's organizations and programs that are trying to debunk these stigmas by putting programs in these communities, such as girl coding, right? So teaching young girls how to code and get into AI, like we're talking about today, talking about helping young kids develop situations that they're able to move forward. So one of the things that helped me was when I was in was an after school program. That was one of the biggest things for me, was going to
technology class you took.
What was that?
It was just a technology class you took, or like
No,
a coding class?
It wasn't. It was for the community. It was for the local housing authority. They set programs for students in the community to come after school, and they will help you. They'll do homework help. They will different, they will do different things here and there. And part of that me being exposed to that helped me to get exposed to there was a program that they call BYTE, BYTE, computer byte. And that's
not what my bite stands for, but you know what I mean? Shout out to Fab on that one.
Speaking of, coming back to it, this byte program, they taught me how to develop a computer from scratch. So here I am, a 13, 14-year-old, learning how to develop a computer from scratch. They taught me some stuff about computers, the ones and the zeros. I didn't really understand the concept at the time, but that exposure is what we need now. And I was able, and once you're done with it, once you're done with the program, they give you that computer, you could keep it, you could own it. So now I have a sense of ownership, something I built from scratch. I learned all the different parts. Now I could do something, right? Now this got my gears a little bit moving. If I didn't have that exposure, I probably wouldn't have been through some arenas or have some interests today. I don't know, but that exposure helped a lot. one other exposure I had was when I was in high school. I went through some leadership conferences and forums. I was invited to go to leadership conferences and such. Now with those programs, I got exposed to other kids my age with huge, massive ambitions and goals in their lives. So you got kids my age. I was 17 at the time. Kids my age was thinking, I'm gonna be a doctor, and you can't tell them any different. I'm gonna be a lawyer, and they were preparing themselves. There was another kid that I met. He was already working with a stockbroker, doing trades and stuff at the age of 16 and 17. That just completely blew my mind. I did not understand that there's kids my age who can think that way and think beyond and have this a transformative moving forward aspect. So with that, that changed my thinking a little bit more, and getting exposed to these conferences and having a guest speaker. I remember hearing from one of these guest speakers that came to the conference where they said, "You are the leader for tomorrow." Now, we had so many great speakers who came in to speak to us. And for some reason, those words impacted my life. It changed my life. Like it shook me to the core. I'm surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of students from across the globe. And for those words to impact and pierce me, I was like, I woke up. That was my waking up moment. And it's, how do you do that? How do you start to trigger and mobilize? So going back to this whole awareness and exposure, it's really having limited exposure. The more you're limited in your exposure to what's around you, to what you can do, you won't be able to grow as much. You won't be able to do as much, right? I did not know what rehabilitation engineering was. I never even thought about doing a doctorate. Heck, I didn't even think about doing a master's. I didn't even know master's wasn't even part of my mind. I remember being a freshman in college, and I went to the career fair to look for a job. I want a summer internship. I'm trying to get a job. At the career fair, some of the students were looking for others to join them in grad school and talking to me about grad school. I'm like, grad school? Who want to do that? I want a job. Go to grad school for
Money
what?
real quick. Forget school. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
But yeah, I think the important thing you were saying was that when you went to the program, it was a community thing. You know what I mean? And I think, now I'm not in that age. We're none of us in that age bracket anymore where we gotta go to after school programs and stuff. But I would think that a lot of those programs were taken out of our communities. You know what I mean? And
Little by little
over the years. You know what I'm saying? So it also limited the exposure to people who were possibly in your class or the year after you. They probably may or may not have had that opportunity, depending on if that program was still available. So I think that's also an important aspect to what you were saying. Like, yo, look, that was a free program, but you know how the government is. You know what I mean? You know how the big brother is. Anything that exposes us to too much, you know what I mean? They want to take it out. Yeah.
And it's crazy because
remove it.
I was in a similar program as well when I was like in 7th grade, and they gave us a computer. And obviously those, like, we talking on a laptop right now. You see how compact and sleek a laptops are now. The computer I got, the CPU was half this table I'm on. You know what I mean? It was big and it was heavy. So, you know what I mean? You see how technology has progressed to make things better, but also it can make things, it has its pros and cons. So that brings us to the next question. What do you think are the pros and cons with, AI, with artificial intelligence, and, what do you think the good things, some of the good things and some of the bad things it could do?
Okay. So the cons we already know, right? So it's exploiting people. You're seeing advertisement, you're seeing stuff especially for consumers, right? You're seeing stuff that you weren't looking for, but now you're enticed to go grab it. So companies definitely would look for that. We see The pros, some of the pros is, okay, you are definitely getting into the smart home situation, right? So if you have a smart home, right? So learning, right? Figuring out what you like to try to adjust to your needs to make life easier for you. When it comes to the medical arena, right? So let's say someone is, you have a parent or someone you're caring for who has Alzheimer's or dementia. I was working in a research lab, and one of the things that we um, put together is a queuing kitchen. It's called a smart queuing kitchen, and what that does is it you have a recipe, right? You have a display. It could be an iPad or whatever, and it's connected throughout the whole kitchen. And if you want to create whatever meal that you want to create, let's say you want to create give me something.
Spaghetti.
A what?
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti. You want to create spaghetti. You click spaghetti, and then it tells you, okay, put these contents on the table. Now, for somebody who has Alzheimer's, they're like, okay, let's put the all right, let's put the pasta on the table. And you forget, it'll remind you, and it'll show you cues on the different cabinets where to go grab the stuff.
Wow.
Now we can use that information to help somebody who's in need, right? Someone who has dementia or Alzheimer's, to help them in areas of need to be independent, So continuously learning, and we can learn more about all these other medical conditions to really help us learn, okay, what is it, how we can best serve other people that they can improve their quality of life. How do we improve their quality of life? And it's just, you have data to continuously learn, okay, what is it with our habits and situations, how we can better prevent, how can we change this or that. So that's a pro. But we can see that, larger companies that are looking for profit can expose, like you got your big conglomerates that you have out there. So it can work both ways, and it can be dangerous. Some of it could be very dangerous, from the 3D prototyping and people using 3D printers to do mischievous stuff. But you could also use 3D printers for good things
out there.
Right.
I said for all the scammers out there.
Right. And you could use it for some good too. So it has its pros and its cons, and we as a society is looking to see how we can stop these large companies for using it for their pro and our con, basically bettering our society, and what is it that we need and how we need to move forward.
That's crazy. So, I mean, we know, obviously, I didn't really understand or knew that they can make a smart kitchen like that to help, people with dementia or Alzheimer's, that's forgetting certain things, than the day-to-day stuff that's be normal to us. It'll be a little harder for them to remember, and I think that's pretty dope. So, what do you see artificial intelligence in the next 10 years? Because obviously, we see a lot. You see it being more prevalent in our day-to-day lives. It's starting to become a lot more in our face with all the things you mentioned and the other stuff that we spoke about off camera as well. What do you see in the next 10 years?
Next 10 years, I think we're still moving in that direction. As you can already see, you go to a grocery store, you're seeing more cashless less cashiers out there, and more
kiosks and
a
stuff like
lot more
that.
kiosks,
more kiosks. So you see where this has been helpful, right? It's like, all right, some jobs are taken away. At the same time, I think there's always going to be a job, because there has to be somebody that keeps monitoring all of those. But at the same time, it does reduce the amount of people that are working those registers. So we'll probably see more of that, and in other not only in when you go grocery shopping, but in other arenas as well, other areas as well. Go to the airport now, right? You see a lot more hit the kiosk, go to the kiosk, you know, to do X, Y, and Z. And if you have luggage with you, go put, you know, bring that to the person so they can pick it up, and probably get to a point where, okay, there's probably, you don't need a person, you just do it yourself, and then weigh it. And if it weighs more, it'll alert and say, okay, we don't, you know, we're not accepting you, take off more weight, weigh less, and
or just charge you right, yeah.
or charge more.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got a follow-up question to that. So you said, you told us where you think it's gonna be in the next 10, 15 years. What do you think the next big invention is gonna be in 10 and 15 years? Because I remember, like, we were talking about, you were back in the day, you started young. I'm pretty sure, like, we were taught, like, yo, one day TV is gonna be as flat as paper.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You know what I mean? And
or
then
flying cars or
you know what I mean?
like
And we couldn't believe it at that time, but now everybody's walking around with an iPad or a tablet or something like that, and then you like, shit, it's here. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, what's the next big thing that you think is gonna take off?
Wow.
My bad. I know that wasn't a part of the list.
No, not at all. I'm just thinking and seeing with this whole aerospace, and you see these, we just saw William Shatner.
Yeah, took off into space.
Took off into space. We've seen civilians, right, going up to space. They didn't have the years and years that astronauts do to just go out in space and come back. So I'm definitely believe that we'll get into more of that, and inventions that will, you know, allow for that dynamic to and maybe not just the next 10, 15 years, but maybe more than that, to see where we're getting into these real flying car situations. There's stuff that's been started. There's definitely stuff that's been started in that arena. It just hasn't been lifted up in the ground, because you have to have a whole ecosystem to make that work. Just like when you go to the streets, you got these stoplights and stop signs. When you're in air traffic control, you have folks who are monitoring, right? You have to be, planes have to be a certain range, distance, and to try to keep things from hitting each other when they're up there. So when we're bringing up flying cars to the scenario, there has to be that system as well, that sort of grid to know, okay, what are the rules and regulations? And since that hasn't been figured out yet all the way through, we probably haven't seen any flying cars, you know, that people are like, oh yeah, I bought a flying car. Yeah, you know. So right now we're still on land and we're still taking jets and planes, but that in between is still a work in progress.
That's dope. I definitely feel that too. Like, we'll be having space colonies and all of that, like, you know what I mean, in like 40 years or something crazy. So, you know, there's definitely something to get your mind rolling, bro. That was a great answer. Great answer.
That's because there's so many different things. So that's just thinking about modes of transportation, and we could talk about so many other arenas as well.
You know what I think is interesting, and I want to compare like the STEM field to the stock market, and how we, you know, now it's way more exposure with the stock market, and there's a lot more exposure with STEM, and how, you know, the people that's been in STEM has generations and decades and centuries of a head start before us, and that's why, you being in that program and me being in a similar one kind of gave us that exposure. I feel like it's the same way with the stock market. People have been doing this for hundreds of years since the stock market opened, and now you see it's been a prevalence of Black entrepreneurs and people of color going into the stock market and knowing what to do, because it was intimidating before, or we just wasn't exposed. So now we see us kind of, you know, pulling our reins in a lot of different arenas, and I think it's it's a pretty dope thing. I think it's pretty cool. You want to go, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go. So, artificial intelligence. Thank you, Dr. J. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was super looking forward to this episode. But I like movies. You know what I mean? As you can see, I'm a videographer. I shoot movies. I watch movies. So I'm like a movie connoisseur. So when he said AI Dr. J was pulling up, I had to ask you, yo, can artificial intelligence gain knowledge without you programming it? And I go back to movies because you think of things like the Terminator, things like the Matrix, where all these computer software,
iRobot.
robots, all these programs basically gained more knowledge than the human race and was able to basically come to our extinction. Like now, no, do I want to talk about our extinction? No, but but does AI really have that capability to like advance its own self?
So there's some truth to that, where that the definition that, as we said in the very beginning, between automation and artificial intelligence. Automation was a repeated task. It's done over and over and over. So somebody program it to do that. AI, on the other hand, is somebody program it to learn. So it's learning, and here's are the algorithms is continuously changing, adapting, and learning. There's some controls to it now, that it doesn't go crazy, but we definitely can see some not so good stuff, some lethal stuff, and where we'll see AI definitely can be detrimental, right? When it comes to technology, one of the things that's very critical, especially for those who are coming in the field and those who are in the field, right? Wherever you are in aerospace or any other industry, we look for how do we make things better, easier to move, adapt, make things automated, use artificial intelligence to keep learning, to adapt and move forward. We lose the most important element that helps things move forward, and that element is human. There, with all these technology, all this automated stuff that we're doing, it's key to remember that there's always a human element. Even the drones that are going out there, right? People are programming and controlling them. Okay, we build. How about if we build a drone and we say AI take over, and there is no fail-safe mechanism? It's it'll just keep learning and doing mayhem on its own. And we need to consider humans is a huge part of what make technology, and how we can continue to use it well. It's a partnership. It's not you just let things go automatically, right? If so, then you won't be able to really use a cell phone. Cell phones won't be made for you. Cell phones will be doing its own thing, and what are you left with?
Right.
So
ordering stuff on your card and whatever, you know what I mean? So
right.
taking trips, he like, yo, what's going on? Like,
or you at work and
your cell phone just
your cell phone
just go. Like, why is my cell phone in the Bahamas?
Go mode, word, like,
and I'm at work
slaving,
mad.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Still paying the phone bill, like,
right.
Oh, man.
So we see, like, I see, like, it can be very powerful. Then, I mean, you can see it how, like, we see the pros and cons. I'm gonna take it there. Do you think, like, obviously it can be weaponized as well? You know what I mean? And like, how, in your expertise, how powerful can it be? And do you think it could be weaponized, or has it been weaponized before? In order to, I mean, I think it has too, but can it be weaponized and be like extremely powerful to where it's like, we might have an apocalypse? What do you think?
All right. I mean, I'm sure there's some stuff right now that isn't talked about that's happening underneath the scenes, and you have defense company is looking for how do we keep the America safe, and how do we keep when we get ready for a war
or in check,
right? So what is it that we need to do to keep things in the positive direction for our military? So I think there's a lot of military programming and artificial intelligence that's going on in that arena. to really advance that type of technology for weapons and etc. These things obviously aren't spoken about. I don't work in weapons or defense, but I can see how it can be used. I can see that even the things that are being used for medical research, you can have these other companies who are funding, right, some of these robots, and seeing how, okay, they're funding these robots to be used for military purposes. So these robots that could be built and are being built for originally, right, for a medical situation, for helping for humankind. And you'll have, let's say a defense company come and say, hey, let me take that robot off your hands, let's see if it could do this, and use that for our good in the military as a weapon. So I'm sure things have been tested. It just hasn't been just
publicly spoken about,
right, to the public. So
haven't exposed us to it,
right?
It's there. I believe it's there.
It's in movies. So if it's in movies, my thing is it's happening.
I agree.
I mean, like,
definitely.
It doesn't take a rocket science to be like to connect the dots for real. So
right. If it's been in movies, that means you thought about it and how can we go about doing this?
Right.
Like, so listen, that's what we see. So
not too far fetched at all. So you done with your questions, bro?
Yeah.
I guess, we appreciate you, Dr. J, man, for pulling up and talking with us, man. This was well informed, well knowledgeable, enlightening episode, man. You're like a wealth of knowledge, bro. And it's intriguing just listening to you, bro. I ain't gonna lie, there's a couple times I wanted to cut you off, and I was like, oh, let him rock. Going, let him keep going. So, I appreciate you for just spilling that out, you know what I mean, and talking from your heart to us. So before we get out of here, please tell the people where they can find you, how they can contact you, if they got any more questions about artificial intelligence, whether it be about you as you're special in your own right. You know what I'm saying? So drop it for the people one time.
All right, cool. So you can find me on LinkedIn, HERVANS, JEANISS, HERVENS, last name JEANNIS on LinkedIn, or email hJeaniss@gmail.com. Easy way to get to me relatively. So thank you guys. I appreciate you.
We appreciate you. You know what I'm saying, and bringing more culture for the content, more content for the culture, mix it up. But at the same time, we're just trying to expose people to different things. So that's all we got, man.
I love it. Amazing.
Let's send them out right. My guy, HERVANS. HERVANS. I had to hear it again. You know what I mean? But I got you, bro. HERVANS.
Listen, one time for the culture.
Yo, we're going to bring you back, bro. We're going to bring you back. We're going to make something happen, bro.
Let's do it. We're ready.
Yo, love y'all. There's another one, y'all. Culture content. Tune in. HERVANS. Culture. You know what I'm saying? It's a wrap.
Holla.